All right, we're live, baby. It's 6:04. The lights are on. The microphone is a humming, and we're about to do some podcasting. We just got to let it breathe. Bring in the Facebookers. Y'all know the drill. It's going to be a gas. Hope everybody's had a great Monday, and we're good. So, welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. 3 days in a row of the Mile High Huddle podcast. That must mean it's August. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, kind of cool to see former Broncos quarterback Ben Gucci DiNucci land on his feet, getting another opportunity. He announced today he signed with a new team, and you had the story for us, so break it down.
Yeah, for anyone who remembers the Broncos legend, he turned Adam Schefter newsbreaker today and reported on X that he signed a undisclosed contract with the Atlanta Falcons. I would assume, Chad, that's a 1-year deal for probably the veteran minimum. He'll be a camp arm or compete for the third quarterback job. I don't cover the Falcons, so I don't know, but he's back in the NFL after a brief stint with the Broncos a few years ago.
Happy to see it. Happy to see it for sure. And hey, man, the show goes on for him. He gets another opportunity to keep the dream alive. But who knows, Zack? A guy like him, maybe what the future holds in the best case is, find play as long as you can, but maybe try and follow the Davis Webb path. And instead of being that third quarterback, bringing up the rear on the roster and looking over your shoulder each and every year, get into coaching. I mean, you got to think about this, dude. Davis Webb, who it was kind of cool to see that he got to call the plays on Saturday in preseason game 2, but it's pretty rare for a coach to get their first job, not just like internship, quality control, like literally even those jobs, but first NFL job was his first year coaching, right? Like that, it doesn't happen too often, Zack, but maybe that's something Ben DiNucci could try and duplicate at some point.
Yeah, Davis Webb, the Broncos kind of lucked out. I didn't realize he was so heady. I didn't realize he was so like a Brett Rippon, just born to coach and not necessarily to play. I don't know that Ben DiNucci is that heady, but maybe like you're right, Chad. Maybe that's his best path going forward.
Zack, if you would be so kind as to grab these 2 super chats from the Papa Bear and Shiloh Heesh. I'm seeing that our main Facebook page doesn't want to connect, so I got to do a little posty post while we talk to these awesome superstars.
Absolutely. We got David, the Papa Bear, $5 super. So good to see you, David, as always, blessing us with your presence, holding it down on this Monday evening. Good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag 13-4 plus, 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 plus. I love the optimism as always, David. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. I think we got Shiloh too. Yeah, despite no stats, $2 super from Shiloh. Thank you so much, Shiloh. Despite no stats, Savion looked good out there. He did. And even though they don't need him to be a starter this season, Chad, right away, you have to have the up-and-coming guys in the tank, so to speak. It's just in case you move on from a John Franklin Myers in 2026. You have Savion Jones ready to go.
Shiloh, Papa Bear, appreciate you guys. Yeah, Savion hasn't exactly like popped, but he looks like he belongs. He's obviously making the roster, and we'll see when his number gets called when the season rolls around exactly, how ready he is. But at least up to this point, Zack, he looks like he belongs.
He absolutely, and he's going to get really good coaching and good mentorship from Zach Allen, JFM, everyone on the defensive line, Chad. If I was a young up-and-coming player, I'd want to play next to those guys, Malcolm Roach, the mouthpiece of that elite defense.
No doubt about it. Guys, again, thank you so much. Tonight, hey, I mean, there's a few other little pieces of news. Like, for example, former Broncos third-round pick, Michael Ojemudia. Do you guys remember him, the cornerback out of Iowa?
Broncos
he got a new opportunity to play some ball, signed with the Dallas Cowboys. In other news, another former Broncos draft pick, this guy, more of a late-round guy, I think it was 2019, Juwan Winfrey, the wide receiver. He's getting another opportunity, but now I'm trying to remember who he signed with off the top of my head. I just brain farted it. Yeah. So, hey.
Texans, sorry.
Okay, hold on. Wait, is it the Texans?
Yeah, I just saw the tweet you sent me.
So I was happy to see that for him. So Juwan Winfrey, Michael Ojemudia, good for you guys.
It didn't work out in Denver, but at least they're getting their looks around the NFL. Yeah, he's with the Colts recently. He's in a Colts uniform in the picture, but he is with Houston now. So best of luck to Juwan.
One of our great members, String Guy in the house, saying, "Good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott, Broncos country. With Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant looking so good, how do you keep them off the field in favor of Vele? Maybe wide receiver 2 by committee as well as running back." Sean Payton, of course, famous for his running back by committee, much to perhaps the chagrin of guys like John Gruden, Zach, who I saw said, "Hey," when he was asked, generally speaking, who's your big sleeper for 2025? And he said, RJ Harvey. Sean Payton's going to give him 300 carries. I'm like, dude, what are you smoking? When's the last time a Payton running back got 300? But anyway, one thing you got to keep in mind here, Roger, is that the preseason has been specifically structured and formatted by the coaches to give Franklin and Bryant a lot of long looks. Vele hasn't been received near the number of snaps. If you'd like, I can add it up for you. We can do that. I have both the games pulled up, Zach, the box scores. But the point being, just like a Cortland Sutton, just like a Marvin Mims, starting unit, a.k.a. he's being limited in his preseason exposure. But he does have a point here, though, Zach, that with how good both those guys have looked, Broncos are going to have to find ways to get him on the field.
Yeah, the simple answer here, String Guy, is you don't keep them off the field in favor of Devon Vele. I think, it's especially in Troy Franklin's case, different type of receiver. He's been the star of the summer. There is no way you're taking him off the field. He has the connection with Bo Nix. He's almost starter level. That's how good he's playing right now. Pat Bryant, you invested a third-round pick in him, not a seventh-round pick. And I got to be honest, so far, I know it's preseason training camp, but he's shown me more potential and more ceiling than Vele showed last season. If I had it my way, Chad, and this might be a hot take, I'm leaving Vele off to maybe sneak another guy on.
Ooh, very interesting. Very, very hot take. By the way, Ronnie Perkins, you guys remember him? He had a cup of coffee with the Broncos, rush linebacker. He signed with the Falcons as well. Thank you for that, Scott. Shouts here to another member, MBLEX. Test preps here to party. Well, he's saying, I'm here so the party can officially begin. Big Earn on Facebook. Great to see you, buddy. Hey, that beard's looking good. It's looking good, pal. Another great member, Mike Thompson. Hey, hey, hey. Sam Bam in the house saying, evening, guys. I know it's preseason, but the Broncos are 2-0. The defense has only given up 16 points. Pardon me. I think Jonah Ellis is going to show that he was a steal in the draft from last year. Go Broncos. Yeah, he's looked very good so far. Big key for him is going to also be staying healthy, as it is for anybody. But with him suffering that, was it a collarbone, Zach, in the Buffalo game? Or was it a shoulder? Either way, he looks totally recovered from that, Zach, but he's got some momentum for sure. Another guy that the Broncos are going to have a plan to get him on the field because it's looking like he's hungry.
Absolutely agreed. Yeah, he had a fractured shoulder bone, a scapula or whatever in the Buffalo game. Not very easy to deal with, but he's back in full bloom. And like I said earlier, I think it was yesterday, Sam, he is going to be a household name soon enough, Jonah Ellis. It's only a matter of time. And if they didn't have Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, they didn't have two no-doubt starters, I really feel like Ellis would be a starting player and a good starting player at that.
He's looking good. And his run defense, man, he's really stepped that up. And it's exciting to see that because it's not exactly a huge strong point for either Nick Bonito or Jonathan Cooper, although Jonathan Cooper is much more reliable. The Broncos could use a little depth in that department. So, or at the very least, when the starters are off, opponents can't just think, okay, let's run it at these edge guys and reap the rewards. So a few more hellos here before we kind of dive into the crux. Roy, we haven't talked to Roy for a second. What's up, dude? Supporting the kids here in Sioux Falls at the Little League World Series. Undefeated, dude. That's awesome. Stoked for you. Patrick, what's up, brother? Aloha. Going to be a fun watch this year. Yes, it is. It's going to be a fun season, man. Can't wait. And we're only, we got one game left, and that was kind of the gist, one preseason game left. And that's kind of the gist of tonight's episode is biggest risers and fallers. And Zach, I got to ask you, since training camp started back in the end of July, which player on any side of the ball has surprised you the most, whether it's in a good way, a bad way, etc.? Like, what's been the biggest eyebrow raiser for you?
The easy answer, low-hanging fruit here is Courtney Jackson. undrafted receiver. They were so flush at receiver. We gave him no chance. We didn't even talk about him. And he's almost pushing for a spot on the 53. If the Broncos weren't so loaded, I think he would have made it. But beyond that, the easy answer, Chad, is Troy Franklin. We thought he would rebound, but not maybe to this extent, in my opinion. I thought Pat Bryant would be a little slower out of the gates, and he's not. He's looked at fantastic so far. So the receiving core has been surprising to me.
Yeah, Franklin 3 for 18 in game 1, did not score, and then 4 for 67. So, in basically a game's worth, when you measure the full snaps, right? It's between those 2 games, it really ends up being about a game's worth of snaps for Troy Franklin. He's pushing, 7-8 receptions, pushing 100 yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns. That is definitely positive developments on that front. And yeah, Pat Bryant, he just looks smooth, dude. Like, he looks like a lot faster than what his 40 time was. And that was something that, if you're really paying attention to the draft nicks, that you would learn, is that he just plays faster than his straight lines, underwear Olympic speed would have you believe. And dude, he's very interesting. I'm now starting to understand why his college coach was like, he's just like Cortland Sutton. He's just a hair shorter, but they play very similar brand of football.
Yeah, I took that question in a positive connotation. In a negative connotation, Estime has been the biggest surprise in a bad way, Chad. He's looked worse than Javonte Williams. He's not as good in pass pro. He offers nothing in the backfield. I thought he would show more this season.
I'm a little bit surprised. Now, this is going way out into the weeds, all right? So keep that in mind. But I'm a little bit surprised that Clay Webb, the undrafted rookie interior offensive lineman guy, who went undrafted because of some kind of outstanding legal issues, let's say, that have since been resolved. Yuck. But either way, had a draftable grade, according to the majority of draft guys. He has not looked like was worthy of a draft pick. I mean, he wasn't a draft pick, but he has not looked good so far, Zach. And the initial silver lining was, well, that's okay, because Nick Gargiulo, he's looking good. But now he's headed to IR. So it really comes down to Clay Webb, Xavier Truss, who's been Will Sherman, Calvin Throckmorton. Not a super encouraging interior backup depth crew there.
No, and I was going to say Gargiulo, whatever. He was also impressive in the first preseason game. Yeah. And Caden Prieskorn, can we shout him out real quick? Another guy I never even heard of when the Broncos signed him. And like you said the other day, he's looking like more of a legit Sean Payton tight end, a complete tight end, than the likes of Lucas Krull, who has some sort of bandwagon still in Broncos country.
I don't think Lucas Krull, unless he has like a huge game 3, I don't think he makes it this year. I think the Broncos err on the side of some youth this time around, because they have kind of a steadying veteran presence of Evan Ingram. Now, you could argue against that and say, well, yeah, they do, but it's a guy who's got a little bit of an injury history. So that would rebut your argument. You'd want to have as many guys as possible, but you're not going to carry 5 tight ends. It's going to be Evan Ingram, Adam Troutman. Do you think they keep Caleb Lohner? What do you think, Zach, from what you've seen so far on the 53? I'm saying.
No way. He hasn't shown enough. He's super raw. He's a practice squad stash.
I would be stunned at this stage if they kept him as well. Yeah. So then it's like Nate Adkins. He's recovering from an injury, and he's your best blocker. Can also give you a little fullback action if you need to. And I think if you're going to carry 4, Prieskorn should be that 4th guy, not Krull.
This could be a situation. We talked about the interior backup offensive line and now backup tight end. That could be a situation, both, where the Broncos explore the veteran market after final cuts, Chad.
Guys, yeah, I don't know what it is, Sam Bam. We did see that was a super chat, so thank you, Big Dog. But for some reason, YouTube's got some weird, like, the last week or so, they've kind of must have been doing some updates, because the way things are displaying on our end is different. And that often comes when they're doing like algorithm updates, different things. So we'll be keeping a sharp eye out to make sure nobody gets missed tonight. Thank you. Second super chat of the night says, also, do you think Audric Estime will be a surprise cut? No, he'll be a cut, but I don't think anyone will be that surprised at this stage. Doesn't seem like he's done all that well in the preseason. No, you're right, bro. And it seems like teams usually keep no more than 3 running backs. Well, they usually keep 4, usually. And some of that math depends on, are you a fullback team? And if so, how involved is your fullback? And not only that, but is the quality and value of your fullback worth more to you than the 4th running back on the depth chart? In this case, I think because they had success last year, Zach, waiving Michael Burton to start the season and then stashing him on the practice squad, elevating him a few times, buying some time before ultimately later in the season promoting him to the 53. I expect them to do the same this year, where they'll carry 4 out of camp. They'll put another one on the practice squad, probably Blake Watson, the way it's looking, and, of course, Burton. But Audric Estime, I think he's the writing's on the wall for him.
Yes, love you, Sam, but I think you answered your own question here in the same sentence. He's not, and Chad said it perfectly. He's going to be cut, but it's not going to be a surprise. Every other running back at some point this preseason, at some point this training camp, has stood out. At no point, through my eyes, in the preseason games anyway, has Estime. I mean, he's averaging under 3 yards a carry in both games. There's no burst. There's no juice. There's nothing that they need on the 53. So I'm moving on.
No doubt about it. Now, who knows? Maybe he pulls his head out, so to speak, and has just a dominant game 3, but I'm not expecting it. And the deadline this year to have rosters cut down to 53 is Tuesday, August 26th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's, where are we at? We're about 8 days, a little more than a week from that. So we'll have the final game this weekend. And then on the heels of that, usually since this new format started, by that I mean preseason format, post-pandemic, the last game, Zach, gets played on a Saturday. Sunday, you start getting a little trickles out of guys who've been waived. Monday, sometimes even by Sunday night, it's like a floodgates, but usually the floodgate has been Monday. And then by Tuesday, you basically know what the roster is. And there was a question from, let me find it here, from, I'm going to grab Sweaty Eye, but from Jeff Cox wanting to know, do you see any acquisitions happen in the next week or so? Well, yeah, once the teams do all their cuts, you'll see the Broncos shuffle perhaps 1 or 2 spots. They'll claim a guy. So that last 2 or 3 dudes, Zach, that make the roster, it's always an uneasy kind of standing. But the one peace of mind that they have is, in most cases, hey, if I do get waived, I'm probably the first guy signed to the practice squad. So Sweaty One-Eye Gaming. This is our dog, Cody Dubb, the soon-to-be dad. Great to see you. Thank you for the super chat. 2,000-yard receivers this year, he says, Zach. I'm calling it. Who's that second 1,000-yard receiver? Because I think you're probably right on Cortland Sutton, but who's the second guy, Zach?
It would have to be Troy Franklin, just because of his game-breaking ability. Well, he saw what he displayed in the Buffalo game, Chad, what we saw from him then. I don't know. I think 2,000-yard rushers, as improbable as that is, I think that's more likely than 2,000-yard receivers this year. But from your keyboard to God's ears, Cody, thank you so much.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still maybe a little bit more high on Marvin Mims having himself a breakout this year. Just because if you look, what's up, Ron? Going to grab you shortly, brother. If you look at how he performed, we'll just call it, the second. Oh man, I did the write up on this, I think in July, but I can't remember the exact stat. Something like the final 6 games of the season. You extrapolate that over the course of a full season, and he's a 1,000+ yard guy, and he's big time. And so the question there is, can he translate that end of season momentum into a new year, his third year? Time will tell, but I'm optimistic he could be that guy because, Zach, you talk about game-breaking speed. It's not just, as we saw in that Cleveland game last year on Monday Night Football, it's not just the dump offs and the little gadget stuff and the sneaky whatever. Dude, he can turn on the jets if he's and as long as that ball is thrown right, dude, he can take it to the house. So, Ronk, brother, $5 super chat jumping in to say, good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. See, this is weird. It's never looked like this ever in the history of us using StreamYard, a super chat. So it's really bizarre. But Ronk, dude, love you, appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ronk. Good to see you as always, my brother.
But we won't miss anything. Don't worry, guys. This was a bummer, Shiloh. We talked about this last night. It was kind of a little bit sad seeing his reaction when he fumbled on the goal line, fighting, by the way, to score. But Preseason, still a good game. I mean, if you look at his numbers, Zach, in that game, Caden Preseason was targeted 3 times. He caught all 3 for 52 yards with a long of 21. But then, of course, he had the fumble. You go back to the first game, Preseason found the end zone on his one target. It's a 7-yard touchdown. So for a guy trying to break into the league, Zach, as an undrafted rookie, I think he's had a pretty solid summer. I like his energy. I like what he's done so far. Better blocker, and that's not saying much, Zach, but a better blocker than Lucas Kroll. I think right now in the pecking order, like if the chips are down, you got to make a decision. I'm betting you now that it's Preseason over Kroll.
Yeah, for me, it's like you said, just vibes right now. I get a good feeling with Preseason, and more so than I had with Kroll. I just think he's more of a Sean Payton tight end, and he could blossom into that tight end 3, tight end 4 spot. And let's not forget, Chad, the Broncos should be looking for their future tight end 1. Evan Ingram's not exactly 20 years old, and they also need a tight end 2 because Adam Troutman won't continue to cut it. If he wasn't a Sean Payton guy, they would have replaced him already.
I think you're right there. As far as some other risers, let's talk about the running backs, because I think RJ Harvey, for the most part, has looked about as advertised. Like, can't wait to see him in like fully schemed up offense, and it's going to be really fun. We can wait to, I mean, who knows? Maybe, like you said, if Sean Payton said he's planning on letting the starters get a few snaps in the third game, I'll still be surprised if that happens. But if that is how it shakes out, maybe he'll get a carry or 2, Dobbins. But I'm okay if he doesn't. Let him chill. Let even Harvey, like, I think we've seen enough to say, okay, that's basically your starting duo that rotates the 1-2 punch. They're good to go. But been really impressed by Jaleel McLaughlin. He's had some of his stats this summer in preseason foiled by penalties, but not on his part, but, holding penalties, whatever. But he's looking twitchy. He's looking good. And Tyler Bidet, Blake Watson, they've looked good. But it seems to me, Zach, just reading the tea leaves and not only what Sean Payton has said, but kind of the tonality, Bidet seems to be that last guy with a seat at the table as far as the roster.
And remember the rap on McLaughlin last year. Maybe rap's the wrong word, but he was the first guy in, last one out of the building,
Yeah.
Chad. He impressed the coaching staff with that. It seemed like throughout the season, Sean Payton can only trust McLaughlin in the backfield. So I think you're right here, Sam. This is the easy 3. But if they do keep 4, that's where the debate starts. Will it be Bidet? Will it be Watson? I think we can agree, though, it won't be Audric Estime.
Yeah, I don't think so, guys. And that's kind of crazy considering how Sean Payton was talking about him literally like hours before news broke that J.K. Dobbins was going to come on a visit. Mike says Evan Ingram has a better chance at 1,000-yard season than Franklin and Bryant combined, I think is what he's saying. Ingram's had some prolific seasons, but if memory serves, he's never quite gotten over. His big 2023 season, he had 900 and change. Let me make sure I'm not lying to you guys. Yeah, his career high in yardage was 2023. He appeared in 15 of 17 games, 963 yards. Preceding that, his other Pro Bowl year was 2020. He had 109 targets, 63 receptions, 654. That was his Pro Bowl. So his actual 2 career highs were back-to-back. And that was his first 2 years, Zach, in Jacksonville, 766 yards and 963. So in a Payton offense, Bo Nix really takes those steps in year 2 that we kind of expect him to, even if they're modest steps. There's going to be a lot of yardage to go around for guys. Gene, what's up, dude? Yo, boys. How are y'all? Really good. Been a few days, but I got to watch the replay of the game. Cut Estime. Yeah, Zach.
Yeah, appreciate you hopping in, Gene. And it's true. If there's a glaring takeaway, I don't know how your eyes could ignore how bad Estime is. We all suffer through Javonte. It just running into his blockers, no vision, no wiggle, nothing to offer, and not a confidence booster at all in the backfield. Seems like everyone else can do something with the ball except for Audric. Hopefully he's better in his next NFL stint.
Gene, dude, I'm loving that profile pic. It makes me smile. Can't wait to see you in a couple months, dude, at the meet and greet. It's going to be a gas. Roger says I'm tripping on Mims. We'll see. But let's remember this, because as you guys know, when I'm wrong, I'm happy to stand at the mic and say, hey, guys, I was wrong on this one. Oops. So catalog this. Try and remember. We'll revisit, Roger. Let's say at the trade deadline if I was wrong about Marvin Mims. We'll see. I don't think so, but we shall see. Keith, yeah, buddy. One name, Troy frickin' Franklin. Yeah, he's looking the part, dude. And you could see Sean Payton, like when he's gotten asked about him lately. Before it was almost like, whoa, hey guys. Remember some of those comments, Zach, early in training camp? Like, let's not go writing the headlines on Troy Franklin quite yet. But the last couple times he's been asked about Troy, which are, of course, after the 2 games, post game, you can see that excitement, man. Like he's kind of like, yeah, dude, we got something on our hands here.
Yeah, I was reading the post-game transcripts. I thought I was watching Almost Famous. He goes, actually happening. It's actually happening with Troy Franklin. And it's true. He predicted an ascension months ago. He did kind of tamp down the expectations, but I think that was his grand plan all along, Chad. I think he knew Franklin was about to break out in year 2.
David, buddy, I'm sorry to hear that you have had a not so good day. Our friend David here says, can't stay long, had a rough day. Sorry to hear about that, bud. You see, he thinks they keep 5 running backs. Watson to the practice squad. So who's the 5th running back? Estimate, or are you saying Burton's the 5th? I'm curious on that, buddy. Let's talk about defense, Zach, in terms of risers. The one guy that I think has impressed me the most has been, and he's a little bit quieter in game 2, but Chris Abrams-Drain, as far as far as fallers, Damari Mathis, man, he needed a miracle to be able to stave off getting cut because of his contract. I mean, you don't pay number 6 cornerbacks $3.5 million, $3.5 million for the season. So he needed to be like star of the show caliber guy this summer. And not only has that not happened, but the one touchdown that the Broncos relinquished to the Cardinals was at his expense. So I would say those on defense for me right now, Zach, are the 2 biggest risers and fallers.
Where do we classify Jaquan, though? He's been so up and down. He's like a riser and a faller. You're right about Cad, though. Chris Abrams-Drain in the pass breakup he had in the first preseason game, he has such long arms and he's so quick to close on the ball. It's effortless. Again, another player where if the Broncos weren't so flush with Barron and Riley Moss and, of course, PS2, maybe Abrams-Drain would be starting. He is that damn good.
He really is, man. He's kind of sticky, man. Like he reminds me of Tony Carter minus the penchant for the big play. Todd just became a member, brother. Thank you for that. And it comes as no surprise. I don't mean that to sound like we take it for granted, but you've been such a core member of our community for so long, dude, that we appreciate you becoming a member. Cody jumping in again, saying Preseason actually has some fight. Kroll, a wind can blow him off his feet, but does Preseason's age hurt him? His age, or his? Are you talking about his relative inexperience? Let me double check what that is.
25.
No.
Well, he'll be 26 in September, but he's still a young player.
We're talking, yeah, exactly. I mean, they used a draft pick on a nearly 27-year-old Devon Vele last year. So if it was a situation where the Broncos had a lot more, if the depth was better, then the smaller things like that, I think, Zach, come into play when you're looking at who's going to be our 4th tight end. In this case, I don't think it hurts him.
Yeah, I mean, a 26-year-old as the tight end 3 or tight end 4, he has a lot of years left. And there's a lot of tread on the tires too, Chad, obviously. So I'm not concerned about that at all. If he can play, he can play.
Yeah, Kroll, I don't know, though, dude. He doesn't do enough as a receiver. He's supposed to be a receiving tight end, but he doesn't do enough as a receiver to offset just how bad he really is as a blocker. So when he's on the field, the run game is dead, dude. Ralph, what is up, brother? Great to see you. It's my priest. I love the fact that we can argue about who our 4th string running back will be. Yeah, dude. Well, go Bows. So that's also, I think, too, Ralph, part of like the mania of Broncos country. Like that's part of what makes us as sick and just passionate, maniacal about the team is we're happy to sit and talk about who that 4th guy is, whether it's this year. I get your point. You're talking about, hey, we're deep enough that this kind of thing matters. But, that's kind of been, I think, Zach, one of the hallmarks of Broncos country since I really got into talking about this stuff and doing it on the internet, almost 20 years ago. So, but yeah, who you like? Who do you like for that number 4 spot, Ralph? You'll have to let us know, buddy.
You know who we're not arguing about, though, is who should start at quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And after a decade of that chat, it feels so freaking good.
Are there, now I know this is not what you meant at all, but are there people, I can't remember which one it was that tweeted it today. Someone in the local press here with us posted that there are people advocating for Jarrett Stidham to be the starter now over Bo Nix. I have not seen that anywhere. I've seen some people be a little anxious coming out of that first game that Bo, didn't set the world on fire. But I haven't seen, Zach, anybody like straight up pounding the table advocating, no. We got to sit down our first round pick because of 3 preseason snaps. We got to go with this Stidham guy. He's undefeated in the preseason.
He's been in the league also how long now? 6 years. He should be carving up 3rd and 4th string players in preseason. Anyone who says that, serious or not serious, just discard their opinion entirely.
As Scott says, if there are people advocating that, it's just begging for attention because it's intellectual dishonesty. Well said, Mr. Producer. Doc, that's what I wanted to grab up here. Doc, let me find this real quick. So, maybe it's a lot farther back. This Doc says, book club, the drive was awesome. So that's the chapter we just did in Broncos Book Club of the Elway Years by Mike Kliss. And we're reading chapter 4 and 5 this week. We're going to talk about it on Saturday at 4 amongst the members. If you guys want to be a part of that, get the book, become a member on YouTube, and it'll be fun. But he says, we have incredible talent. I don't believe it is a bad thing. Someone said we have too much talent. Is that really a problem? No, it's like what you would call like a first world problem, or another way of saying it, Zach, it's a good problem to have.
That's exactly what I wrote in my story today about Sean Payton talking about roster cuts. And I said the Broncos have an embarrassment of riches at certain positions, but it beats the alternative of having nothing, being poor at those positions. So I don't know who's saying the Broncos have too much talent, but that's kind of crazy.
On the same note here from Doc James, we have some huge cuts coming. I really love our depth. Do you see any big surprise cuts coming? Estimate no surprise. I mean, it's noteworthy. I'm surprised, no, but like noteworthy that there are probably 2 recent draft picks that are going to be cut in Estime and Mathis. Who do you think, Zach? Do you got any like bold surprises? Not per se a prediction, but even maybe a guy to keep an eye out for Doc.
I gave one a few minutes ago, Devon Vele. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sean Payton loves him. Maybe Devon Vele has a huge role this season in the Broncos offense. I haven't seen much of him. I've seen Troy Franklin ascend. I've seen Pat Bryant ascend. You mentioned Marvin Mims, obviously Cortland Sutton. They have Trent Sherfield showing out, Courtney Jackson showing out. So Devon Vele reminds me of Audric Estime in the sense that everyone else around him competing for a spot has looked good, really except for him.
So game one, Vele. Let me double check this. Game 1, Vele had 1 catch for 6 yards on 1 target. And the number of snaps, let me find him here, that he played. Okay, there he is. Played 20 snaps. So he played basically, Zach, the exact same number of snaps that the first team played. So, and then of course the whole first team didn't play game 2. So he didn't play. So the question is, do you really think Sean Payton is in a headspace where there's something that either Vele has done or hasn't done that will put a starter in jeopardy of being cut? And you're feeling that way.
And again, maybe I'm wrong because Vele did seem like a person that Sean Payton wanted to lean on, but they have other options now. And I didn't foresee Troy Franklin breaking out to this extent. I didn't see Pat Bryant being ahead of the curve for being a 3rd-round rookie. But the fact that they are and they're stepping up, it could leave Vele on the outside looking in.
Well, the question was surprise cuts, and that, Zach, would definitely qualify as a surprise cut. But honestly, beyond him, as I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at the roster here. I'm like, who could be a surprise? I don't really see anybody else, dude, because the defensive line guys that they have, I mean, I guess possibly I'll throw this out, but it'd be like a modest surprise would be Iome Uwazurike, who, of course, was a 4th-round pick a few years back, had the suspension, kind of got back on his feet last year. They kept him on the roster. Sean Payton said some really good things about him during training camp. But he has not only, Zach, been unable to translate it to the preseason games, but he just hasn't looked good in the preseason. So he would qualify too as another recent draft pick that could find himself on the cutting room floor.
Another one, again, this is a bold prediction. Maybe Alex Singleton. Coming back from injury. They have Lavelle Bailey, Chad. They have Kareem Reed is looking pretty good. You brought back Sternad. That's bold. I still think Singleton makes it, but that's just putting it out there.
Yeah, just, hey, surprises. What could possibly be in the cards? And it wouldn't completely be a shock to me. And we talked about him as potentially being a cut guy way before the cleats even hit the grass. Right. But because of his contract and his relative recent injury history. But one of the caveats to that was a younger inside linebacker rising, or the inside linebacker depth, giving the Broncos enough confidence to feel like they could move off from him in a contract year. Mike says, if Vele gets cut, I'll give a maximum super chat. Okay. All right.
Well, now buddy. I'm rooting for it.
Well, you don't have to do that, Mike, but we'll see. I agree with you, Mike, that it would definitely come as a surprise, but it was kind of like that, Zach, when Tim Patrick got cut, like running with the ones, tenured veteran, got that second contract. Yeah, I had a couple years of bad injury luck, but it was kind of that out of the blue when they cut him. We're like, really? And why did they cut him? Because a guy rose up beneath him, rendering him basically expendable. Now, one big difference, Zach, between those two situations, Tim Patrick had the contract. He had restructured, if memory serves, because he had those 2 lost years to injury. So he had cut the Broncos a little bit of a break, but he was still making significantly more than what Vele, a 7th-round pick in his second year, is making. So we can't ignore or forget also, Zach, when we're drawing those parallels, the financial incentive relative to Timmy P.
That's ironically, too, the Broncos moved on from Timmy because they wanted to give Vele more of a chance and move on with the younger receivers. So it could be a butterfly effect happening again. And I just think it's not a contractual thing, a financial thing. You just can't keep right now. You cannot keep Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin off the field. Considering what they're doing and the chemistry they're building, you just can't do it, Chad.
Todd says, why keep fullback Michael Burton? Just use a tight end there. To be honest with you, dude, I am the wrong person to ask. Not because I'm like some ignorant numbnut, but because I genuinely agree with you. Like, I don't understand what the allure is. He is a big Peyton guy, though. Like, he goes way back with Peyton. And when you have a guy like Nate Adkins, Zach, that can check literally every box that Burton does, with maybe the exception of special teams. That's the one thing also you got to keep in mind, Todd, that kind of insulates Burton is not only his willingness to play special teams, but he does a damn good job. The Broncos rely on him for that when he's on the roster.
Same reason they liked Lowell Jordan Humphrey so much, and Marquez Callaway and some of these other Saints players, former Saints players. Sean Payton has his guys. He's very old school, and he trusts his guys. I would hope that they could double dip there with a tight end, like you're saying there, Todd, but Nate Adkins is going to miss regular season time with that injury, so it might be where Burton resigns after week 1, where I believe, Chad, his salary wouldn't be guaranteed for the season if it's after week
1. A.T. Perry, Zach, too little, too late. We have a few people asking about or talking about A.T. Perry in the chat. I don't even think he's a guy with how much depth has shown out at wide receiver this year. I don't even think he's a guy they try and keep around on the practice squad unless, and here's that big caveat and part of why we titled tonight's episode the way we did, chips are down, baby. It's the 3rd game. It's now or never. So unless he just goes off and has like a Troy Franklin-esque 3rd game, but even that, Zach, doesn't always save guys. Remember Albert Okwuegbunam had a big last game. I mean, even Lucas Kroll, his last game as a Saint was insanely good. Sometimes by the time you get to that last game, Zach, unfortunately, in many cases, the roster mat's already been done. Like, they've already kind of made their decisions on who they're keeping.
We talked about Juwan Winfrey earlier, and that's what A.T. Perry is starting to remind me of. It's all hypothetical, all theoretical upside, nothing tangible, nothing in actuality. Like you said, if he breaks out in preseason game 3, maybe he makes a push for the practice squad. But with Courtney Jackson, Joaquin Davis, even Michael Bandy playing well and practicing well, how do you justify keeping A.T. Perry just because of what? He's tall and he was a former Saint? Doesn't cut it.
I agree. And yeah, Ronk, you're one of the great exemplary guys that proves Broncos country is not a geographic location. It's a state of being. And it was really cool when I was in the Phoenix area over the weekend, and Proud Zennial, his name's Ian, came out, and I got to meet him and hang out. And he had this sticker that said, Arizona is Broncos country. And you know what? I mean, Zach, look, they sell tickets, but they don't sell out, the Cardinals, unless they're like Kurt Warner competing for a Super Bowl, and Larry Fitzgerald and like those great teams that we're going way back now, over a decade. But every network also that our website, Mile High Huddle, has ever been on, the Cardinals are always one of the worst performing websites because the fans, I guess, just don't really care about them. But they've been there, Zach, for a long time. It's kind of a surprise that there aren't more like passionate Cardinals fans. But maybe it's true what Ian's sticker said, that like Ronk, Tucson Phil, many more, that Arizona is Broncos country.
Absolutely. I've said it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it for the rest of my life. This is the best fan base in all of sports, and I'm so blessed to be interacting with all of you.
No doubt. Where are we at? We're at 41 minutes. Okay, guys, we'll call this the 2-minute warning. Any burning questions, topics, supers, get them in the chat, and we will be sure to grab them before we dip on out of here. And like here's another example. What's good, fellas? AZ in the building. See, I mean, great to have you. Thank you, bud. I'm just doing a little perusal here, a little bit higher up the chat, to see if we missed anything. Cruise. Harvey from William. Harvey inside in the O-line was just insane on that touchdown run. If that was Pookie, he would have ran into the guard or center. Yeah, that was the frustrating thing, right, about him post-injury, was that penchant for running into the blockers. I don't recall seeing that nearly, Zach, as often his rookie year, when he almost rushed for 1,000 yards as the number 2 guy. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about R.J. Harvey, who I loved seeing that, because there was all that criticism and questions about, game 1, Harvey's bouncing everything outside, Zach, which he literally did. Every run he carried, bounced it outside. And can he run between the tackles? He showed you on that touchdown plunge when he popped his NFL cherry that, yeah, I can run between the tackles.
I dropped a tweet in the private chat. I don't know if we can pull it up or not, but it's a screenshot of the little tiny hole that RJ Harvey slithered through on his touchdown run. And like you said, Chad, that's what I tweeted earlier. I said, quote, RJ Harvey can't run outside of the tackles or between the tackles. And here's RJ Harvey running between the tackles in a very small window. So you're right here. If this was any other running back from last season, it would have not have reached pay dirt.
Look at that. Mr.
He
Producer
scores on that play.
Taking care of us here. Look at that. Whoop. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. See, you can see the goal line, the big white line, solid line. Yeah.
But I thought he couldn't play in the NFL, Chad. I thought he was too small.
Yeah. No, Sean Payton says he's not small. He's short. There's a difference. Right. But yeah, it was very encouraging to see. And I mean, again, I saw this today. I saw it because I was uploading a short to MHH YouTube. And while I was waiting for it to upload, I saw this other short that it was John Gruden on a podcast appearance somewhere, probably Barstool. I can't recall exactly where he was, but saying that his big sleeper in the NFL this year is RJ Harvey, and that Sean Payton's going to get him 300 carries. Ralph, my brother, has Cardinal season tickets, and it's always a Broncos home game there. Yeah. Very interesting indeed, Ralph. But there are also, for what it's worth, a lot of transplants live in the desert. So that doesn't explain it all, but that is part of it.
core memory unlocked. Wasn't it a few years ago? Von Miller said, we're going to kick their ass about the Cardinals on that Thursday night game. And they went out and they did just that.
They utterly brutalized them. That's for sure. All right, guys, we got a few messages here before we dip out. We'll take one last look at the chat, so don't go anywhere.
Another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, very important, as always, you know the drill. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans, just like you.
That's right, guys. Before I get to the shout-outs, we got the Ronk. Great show tonight. Chad and Zach on the MHH podcast. Go Bo Broncos. I'm just taking thank you, pal. I'm just taking a quick look to see anything Pearl. I want to watch who they play in the game 3, who they cut. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of those decisions seemingly have already been made just based on the way it's always shaken out in the past. But if you're a player on this roster fighting, you can't think that way. You got to go out and play, because even if you don't make this roster, you might shine. That tape goes out to all the teams. So, all right, guys. I think we covered it. What up, fellas? I know it's only preseason. Broncos play the Saints on my birthday, and I'm also having a party. I need that one just to trash talk my family. Well, you'll get it, dude. I mean, I'd be shocked if that's the one preseason game they don't win. You know, the depth of this roster. Plus, if what Peyton said is true, comes out in the wash and the starters play, you'll get a little boost there from Bo and Sutton and Harvey and etc. plus the defense. So we'll see. But hopefully you get those bragging rights, big dog. A mile high salute, special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters and members helping us keep the lights on tonight, like Shiloh, the Papa Bear, Sam Bam, pardon me, multiple supers, Cody Dub, multiple supers, Gene William, Ralph, the Brace Girdle Clan. We also had Todd Ostendorf signing up, becoming a member while we were live tonight. And yeah, guys, we got to hang on just a little bit longer. One more game, then a short little break, and then, baby, we're off to the races. The regular season will be here, and time's going to fly. So Zach and I, are off until Thursday. So everybody, have a great week. Can't wait to see you Thursday night. Don't forget, Kelberman's Corner tomorrow for members only. Hot takes that hold water. YouTube, noon Mountain, 2 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
We might be talking about why Devon Vele might be a surprise cut. But anyway, we'll see you there tomorrow for the Facebook VIP stream. Chad and I will see you Thursday. Have a great start to your week. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.